Hello and welcome. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran and this is Voice of the Global South. All right then, let's get started. On the show this week, a deep dive into how scamsters in Myanmar use US billionaire Elon Musk's company Starlink's internet services to swindle billions of dollars from unsuspecting victims worldwide. A daring heist at the Louvre in France ignites global debate over the safety and ownership of the Kohinoor diamond which the British took from India. Will the UK return it to India? And North Korea's latest hypersonic missile test has the world on edge. South Korea responds by unveiling its monster missile. Will Pyongyang's latest move spark a clash between Trump and Kim? All that and much, much more coming up on Voice of the Global South. A new battle is unfolding in Southeast Asia, not on the front lines, but in the digital shadows. Since a military takeover in February 2021, Myanmar has become a hotspot for cyber scams. Sprawling criminal operations have stolen billions of dollars from unsuspecting victims around the world. And now the junta, which has long been accused of benefiting from such illicit activities, is cracking down on scamsters and in the process claiming a big win against cybercrime. But some are skeptical. Is this crackdown the real deal or just another move in a complex game of power and control? Join us as we take you inside this shadow war to explore the human stories caught in the middle of Myanmar's digital gold rush. On 21st October, Myanmar's junta raided one of the country's most infamous cyber scam centers near the Thailand border. More than 2,000 people were arrested, including 445 women. Their nationalities were not immediately known. State-owned, the Global New Light of Myanmar has said that the military had seized 30 sets of Starlink receivers and accessories. Now, this seizure was critical. Here's why. Starlink is a service owned by US billionaire Elon Musk's SpaceX. It does not have a license to operate in Myanmar, yet hundreds of these terminals have been smuggled across the porous Thai border. They've become the favored tool for scam centers for the simple reason that Starlink's satellites and ground stations are powered independently. So the service itself becomes available globally even during local blackouts. Following the crackdown, Elon Musk's SpaceX said that it has cut Starlink satellite communication links to more than 2,500 devices used by scamsters in Myanmar. An immediate focal point of this shadow war is KK Park, located on the outskirts of Myawaddy. Now, Myawaddy is a town in southeastern Myanmar in Kayin state close to the border with Thailand. Separated from the Thai border town of Mae Sot by the Moi River, the town is the most important trading point between Myanmar and Thailand. The Global New Light of Myanmar said that the junta had occupied 200 buildings and found nearly 2,200 workers at the site. Also, that 15 Chinese scammers had been arrested for online gambling, online fraud and other criminal activities around KK Park. A question remains though, how are people from different parts of the world lured and entrapped? This is how it works. Now, these scams, often operating out of Cambodia, Thailand, Laos and Myanmar, prey on people's hopes and desperation by promising lucrative salaries and attractive benefits. What seems like a life-changing job opportunity quickly turns into a nightmare. Many of the victims are approached online or through fake recruitment agencies, with offers of high-paying roles in IT, sales or customer service. These job offers seem legitimate, complete with professional emails, fake contracts and even paid travel expenses. Now, once lured, the victims are first sent to countries bordering Myanmar, such as Thailand, before being trafficked across the border into Myanmar's militia-controlled areas. Upon arrival, their passports and phones are seized, cutting off any chance of them reaching out for help. Inside heavily guarded compounds, the victims are forced into running sophisticated online scams under inhumane conditions, enduring beatings, starvation and even torture if they don't meet demanding targets. Now, these scams take many forms. One common method is the pig butchering scheme, where scammers build fake romantic or investment relationships over time to steal a person's life savings. There are also romance scams that prey on personal connections to manipulate victims into sending money. In January this year, a Chinese actor Wang Xing was rescued from a cyber scam compound in Myanmar where he had been held captive. According to reports, he was lured by a fake acting job offer, a tactic now commonly used by criminal networks operating in the region. But Wang Xing's story is far from unique. Similar cases have been reported across the globe, including India. Now, this year alone, more than 540 Indian nationals who were tricked with fake job offers and trafficked into cybercrime networks have been rescued from Southeast Asian countries. Indian authorities have warned that these scams are becoming increasingly sophisticated, often targeting young professionals and the unemployed through social media or online ads. In March 2024, reports emerged that about 5,000 Indians had been lured to Cambodia with fake job offers for data entry work. Around the same time, the Indian Cyber Crime Coordination Center under the Ministry of Home Affairs found links to China while investigating cyber fraud. A new place located south of Myanmar town is reported to have emerged recently, where most of the Indian victims are being trafficked into via Thailand after being recruited from India and other countries such as Malaysia and the United Arab Emirates. 3 more Indian nationals were repatriated from Myanmar in September, taking the total to 886 such persons since July 2024. The UN Office on Drugs and Crime estimated that cyber scams in Southeast Asia cost victims, take a guess, $37 billion in 2023. The US and the UK have sanctioned more than 100 companies and individuals in Southeast Asia linked to online scams. The US Treasury said that online scams cost more than $16 billion in the US in recent years. In fact, scams originating in Southeast Asia caused losses worth $10 billion in 2024 alone. The French news agency AFP reported that a committee comprising US lawmakers has begun an investigation into Starlink's involvement with these centers. But while it can call Elon Musk to a hearing, it cannot compel him to testify. Now, Thailand plays a complex and pivotal role in both spread and containment of scam centers across Southeast Asia. As a major regional economic hub with advanced digital infrastructure and strong cross-border connections, the country has become deeply intertwined with cyber criminal operations, though it is not considered a primary hotspot like Myanmar, Cambodia or Laos. Its strategic location, sophisticated banking system and large migrant workforce make Thailand a crucial transit point for these illicit networks. In recent months, Thailand has stepped up efforts to tackle this problem, especially in the lead-up to and after former Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatre's visit to China in February this year. As part of a crackdown on Myanmar-based scam operations, Thailand has since cut off electricity, internet and fuel supplies to many known scam hubs, including the cluster of operations around Myanmar. In the resulting crackdown, around 7,000 people were rescued from scam centers in and around Shui Ko Ko, another known scamming zone to the north of Myanmar. Myanmar's junta says it's committed to shutting down scamming operations, but its position remains ambiguous. Reports say that in addition to KK Park, there are at least 27 other suspected scam centers in the Myanmar cluster, most of which are run by Chinese criminal syndicates under the protection of Karen militia groups allied to the junta. Myanmar's military only raided KK Park while seemingly ignoring other scam centers. The raid on KK Park appears to be a targeted action designed for maximum political impact rather than a comprehensive anti-crime effort. But that said, the junta's claim to shut down an infamous scam center is almost certainly directed at its main patron, China. China has exerted immense pressure on Myanmar and Thailand to end illegal businesses run by Chinese syndicates. These networks are part of Myanmar's black market economy, besides drug production and mining, which help fund factions in the ongoing civil conflict sparked by the 2021 military coup. But here's the bottom line. Despite the pressure, new construction continues at scam compounds along the border areas, which can only mean one thing: that more innocent people will likely fall victim to unscrupulous traffickers. The Louvre in Paris, which is home to masterpieces such as the Mona Lisa, has been hit by one of the boldest art robberies in recent memory. But beyond the theft itself lies a deeper story, one that echoes far beyond Europe and raises global questions about protection, ownership and return of cultural treasures, particularly to nations of the global south. And that includes the Kohinoor diamond, which the British took from India. Shiva Mishra reports.
In the early morning hours of 20th December 2007, three masked intruders entered a museum in Brazil's largest city of Sao Paulo. Using a hydraulic jack to force the main door and a crowbar to smash a glass panel, they struck in under 3 minutes, executing what the police described as a professional job. The museum security system did not include alarms or motion sensors. It relied only on human patrols and cameras. Their target, Pablo Picasso's portrait of Suzanne Bloch, estimated at $50 million, and Brazilian master Candido Portinari's The Coffee Worker, valued at $5 million. Neither work was insured. 3 weeks later, on 8th January 2008, police recovered both the paintings, fortunately, in an undamaged condition. 2 suspects were arrested. For the museum and for many cultural institutions in the global south, the message was blunt. World-class artifacts do not guarantee world-class protection. In the wake of the robbery, the museum admitted its lack of modern alarm systems and pledged to upgrade its technology. The 2007 Brazil robbery holds two enduring lessons. First, that the window of opportunity for thieves is measured in minutes. And second, security weaknesses are not exotic, just underinvestment and complacency. Such robberies follow a familiar pattern worldwide: minimal delay, targeted items, and weak security. For instance, the 1990 robbery of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in the US city of Boston remains the largest unresolved art theft of 13 works valued at more than $500 million, which remain missing to this day. Now imagine 7 minutes in the Louvre, dressed up as staff, using power tools, bypassing cameras. You've seen it on Netflix. Clever thieves with twist at the end. In Lupin, robbery looks like theatre. In real life, it can take just a few minutes to change the course of history. This week, priceless royal jewels vanished from the Louvre, but the story doesn't end with it. On 19th October, at the iconic Louvre in Paris, thieves used a crane or mechanical lift, power tools to punch through glass, and a Yamaha T-Max scooters for a quick escape. The operation reportedly took about 7 minutes. Authorities estimate the stolen jewelry's value at more than $100 million. Among the treasures targeted were several priceless royal jewels, including Empress Eugenie's pearl diadem with 212 pearls and nearly 2,000 diamonds, and her diamond bodice bow brooch. The robbers also took an emerald necklace and earrings, one gifted by Napoleon to his wife, Marie-Louise, 3 sapphire and diamond pieces worn by French queens Marie-Amélie and Hortense, and a diamond reliquary brooch belonging to Empress Eugenie. In interviews, the museum's director blamed gaps in CCTV coverage. The official admitted that cameras in the gallery were outdated and that the alarm system failed to respond in time.
Caméra périmétrique.
There are some perimeter cameras, but they are aging. If you want the technical details, I would prefer to hand over the Dominique Buffon. But the surveillance is highly insufficient. It doesn't cover all the Louvre's facades. Unfortunately, on the Apollo Gallery side, the only camera installed is directed westward and therefore did not cover the balcony involved in the break-in.
A French lawmaker, Laurent Lafont, said that the museum still lacks proper external surveillance cameras, despite similar conditions leading to a theft in 1976.
Responsabilité, on voit bien que la chaîne des responsabilités.
It's obvious that the chain of responsibility stretches far back in time. Take the example of external surveillance cameras. We're in 2025, and yet, as I mentioned in the hearing, a similar theft occurred in 1976 under almost identical conditions. Over 40 years, no leadership made the effort to correct this error, this absence of external video surveillance. The question remains unresolved.
Présidence.
The Louvre isn't just a home to France's royal jewels, it guards priceless treasures from across Asia, Africa, and beyond. Among them are some of India's most famous diamonds: the Regent, the Hortensia, the Sansi, all mined in the fabled Golconda region and once part of royal collections before ending up in Paris. The museum also holds pieces of Mughal art and ancient carnelian beads. The Louvre also showcases other powerful relics from around the world, such as the massive Khorsabad reliefs of ancient Iraq, the Moai statue from Easter Island, and sculptures from Solomon Islands, objects that were once part of indigenous kingdoms, ritual practices, or artisanal traditions, are now displayed thousands of miles away from their place of origin. If jewels under such tight security can simply vanish, just how safe is the Louvre? For the nations of the global south, such robberies could mean loss of cultural property. A part of the problem is that jewels often disappear completely because they can be melted or recut and vanish into legitimate markets. From New York City to Dubai, the routes for stolen gems and art remain global. This means that a theft in Paris or Sao Paulo can ripple across continents.
The worst case scenario is that they could end up in a money laundering operation. In their current state, the pieces will not go to public sale. That's certain. They are too well known. However, we can fear that they might be entirely reset, dismantled, melted down, and that's the risk, a catastrophe. Beyond the intrinsic value of the precious metals and materials, there's a tremendous historical value which we could multiply their worth by maybe 100 times. 10, 20, we really don't know. We have no real idea.
There's another thorny issue to contend with: insurance. It is an expensive proposition for priceless, historically significant items, and it is often unavailable, and museums cannot afford modern CCTV, infrared sensors, or round-the-clock guards. For museums in Lagos or New Delhi, these choices are daily trade-offs between access and protection.
You can imagine that other museums in the world, and there are tens of thousands of them, smaller than the Louvre, they are watching this news and they think, well, if the Louvre can be robbed, how can we protect ourselves, And they are afraid that local thieves will think, well, they took it off with the Louvre, let's try our local museum. So that's the biggest fear now in the museum world.
The theft at Louvre raises yet another question that the Global South has been asking for decades. Who owns what? Take the case of the Kohinoor diamond. It was mined in India, but is now part of the British Crown Jewels. Should it stay in London as a symbol of history, or be returned to India from where it was taken centuries ago? Shiva Mishra for DD India.
The Korean peninsula is on edge again. North Korea has flexed its muscles with a bold new missile test, firing what it calls a cutting-edge hypersonic weapon. Aman Kumar Himanshu has more.
This wasn't just another launch. It was a high-stakes message timed perfectly to rattle nerves barely a week before Trump's visit to the region. Trump will touch down in South Korea on 29th of October for the APEC summit after concluding a visit to Japan. The latest test took place on 22nd October. North Korea is reported to have tested 2 projectiles. South Korea's military spotted them flying about 350 kilometers before they slammed into a target inside North Korea. Kim Jong-un was not reported to have attended the latest launch though. A South Korean academic, Young Mo-jin, told French news agency AFP that Kim's absence from the launch may indicate that Pyongyang was seeking to tone down its impact, coming as it did just days before the APEC summit. The test came close on the heels of North Korea parading on 10th October what looked like short-range ballistic missiles with hypersonic capabilities. Incidentally, the Chinese premier attended the parade. The latest test had many firsts to its credit. It was the first launch of ballistic missiles by North Korea since the month of May, and it was the first such launch since Lee Jae-myung was elected president of South Korea. A hypersonic missile can fly at 5 times the speed of sound, that is more than 6,000 kilometers per hour, faster than defenses can react. But here's the scary part. Unlike a regular missile that arcs predictably, a hypersonic missile can twist and turn mid-flight, making it harder to track and intercept. Now, it's not the first time North Korea has tested a hypersonic weapon. They've been testing these since 2021. But it's got everyone watching because it's an exclusive club. India, China, Russia and the US have developed and tested hypersonic missiles. Other countries such as France, Iran and North Korea have developed some form of hypersonic technology. Nuclear-armed North Korea has steadily upgraded its missile capabilities over the past decade, defying multiple United Nations sanctions. It has test-launched long-range ballistic missiles that can potentially hit the US mainland if fired at a trajectory calibrated for that purpose. How will the test affect North Korea's relations with the US? That's a million-dollar question. On the face of it, the US has condemned the test. The United States Forces Korea, which comes under the US Indo-Pacific Command, described it as unlawful and destabilizing. It called on North Korea to refrain from further acts in violation of the UN Security Council resolutions. But US officials have been reported to have discussed, at least privately, about a Trump-Kim meeting. So is a Trump-Kim summit on the cards? Trump surely thinks so. Just last month, he told journalists that he would like to meet Kim. For its part, Seoul has said that a meeting between Washington DC and Pyongyang cannot be ruled out. In an interview to CNN, South Korea's President Lee Jae-myung hoped that Kim and Trump will be able to engage in dialogue.
In an interview with CNN ahead of the upcoming APEC leaders meeting in Gyeongju, Lee says such a meeting would be the first step in resolving many issues, though he acknowledged the chances of it happening next week were slim.
As for Kim, he signaled openness too. The North Korean leader said last month that he had fond memories of Trump and was open to talks if Washington DC dropped its quote-unquote delusional demand that he give up his nuclear weapons. Kim met Trump 3 times for the high-profile summits during the US leader's first term: Singapore in 2018, Vietnam in 2019, and Panmunjom in the joint security area at the border between the two Koreas, also in 2019. Panmunjom is the only place where soldiers from the two Koreas face each other on a regular basis. But talks collapsed over just how much of its nuclear arsenal the North was willing to give up and what Pyongyang would get in return. North Korea won't give up its nuclear weapons, and the US won't let up on sanctions until complete denuclearization. In the face of provocations from the North, South Korea is not sitting idly by. It's striking back hard. In a direct response to the latest test by North Korea, South Korea made 2 moves. First, it announced that it will begin deploying the Hyunmo-5, also known as Monster Missile. It tips the scales at 36,000 kilograms and packs an 8,000 kg bunker buster warhead that can pulverize underground hideouts. Seoul plans to deploy it by the year end. And second, South Korea just unveiled a new attack submarine. With Aman Kumar Himanshu, Tanvi Taneja for DD India.
And with that, it's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.